morning, everybody. Thank you for being here today. We're going to have a question and answer with Integral Law. And so today we have Brandon and Diane with me. Thank you for being here, you guys. How are you today?
We're doing great. Enjoying the sunny weather.
Yeah, I can tell. Yeah, I can tell. So you are so lucky, right? You're working from there. Yeah. So today we have probably lots of questions, but we're gonna wrap just in specific things regarding the COVID-19. So we had lots of change that the government had to ask us to work in some flexible way and a safety manner. So some question that we're gonna ask to you guys, how we can work in this real estate business and transaction with the clients. But first of all, I would like you guys to introduce yourself. So Diane, so you can tell us a little bit about you guys, and then we can go with the questions.
Sure. So my name's Diane Ulman. I'm a co-founder. Oops. We'll just pause. I don't know what that background sound was. We'll just pause and I'll just restart that.
Okay.
It's a bear. Run.
So my name's Diane Ulman. I'm a co-founder along with Brandon Lee. We co-founded INTEGRIS Law, and primarily our business focuses on real estate, and we also do some wills and estates and some corporate work.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Yeah. And how long you guys been working together?
Working together, not too long, but we're old high school buddies. So we've known each other for almost 20 years. but I've been in the real estate industry in different capacities for over 10 years. I started working at a property management company when I was in university, and it just seemed that every job I've had always touched upon real estate. So it's just very fitting that now I'm focusing on real estate law.
Fantastic. Brandon, any words on that you want to add?
Oh, I like Diane said, I'm a co-founder of the firm. I started off doing corporate work when I got called to the bar, and then Diane and I got reacquainted, and from there decided to form the firm, and we're very happy to do it. It's a lot of fun. I'm very lucky to be working with Diane. Not as lucky as her right now because she's outside and I'm in a cave, but hey, it's okay.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's okay. And you have a halo around yourself right now. You realize that, right?
You talking about with me or with Diane?
With you, because your painting in the background makes it look like you have a halo.
Okay, that's my wife paint. By the way, yeah, she's an art. That was for my gift. 3 years ago. Yeah, it's a mandala. It's called mandala. Yeah, awesome. But so the people out there, they will know where is that. So let's start with the first question that I have for you guys. So consumers right now, they are afraid probably, to sell or buy the house because they have no idea, no clue what's this new regulation. So in terms of the legal status, what you guys will say to a new guys as a new approach, what they should check and not be afraid. So having you guys as a good team, they can proceed with all the proceeding, technical proceed of buy or sell a house in a contract.
Okay.
So Brandon.
Sure. So what I'd say, and to start off, is we're in a novel scenario right now in regards to real estate and business generally because of COVID-19, but that doesn't mean that business can't proceed. We have many deals that are still proceeding as planned. It shouldn't stop someone from wanting to go into a transaction. It just means that we have to be a bit more mindful on our end about making sure it closes. We have had people wanting to close faster because they're not sure about how the market will do in terms of the price point. We have had 1 or 2 questions in regards to renters that are currently in properties, and then the LTB not enforcing, as I'm sure you and your clients know. But in general, this shouldn't be deterring people from buying and selling, because as the market numbers generally show, general amounts of property has declined in terms of what's on the market. But if you're staying underneath the $1 million mark, generally the numbers are being stable.
Yeah. Yeah, some of the videos that I've done already, some of the people already saw this video. I already mentioned that right now it's very important to understand all these new technologies. So people technically from home, they can see the house. From you guys, they can send an e-transfer, papers, documents, so there's no physical connection. So everything has to be done sooner, or in a regulation of 1 or 2 months time frame, right?
Right.
Yes.
It's real. Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say that, yeah, I definitely agree with that. And especially as Ontario starts to reopen at the different stages, it is going to normalize even more. There certainly are going to be some measures that stick around forevermore. Some of which I'm really excited about, like being able to do video conferencing with clients and being able to offer that as a service, and be able to offer that past the time of COVID. And it would just be more of a convenience factor. So perhaps clients don't have to come into a lawyer's office during regular office hours, or if they are, it's done remotely. So they don't have to take half a day off of work just to come and sign some documents. So I think there is a lot of good that's going to come out of this.
Yeah, I also will emphasize the fact that it is really important that people out there, they understand with who to work. So not just real estate, not just an attorney or any single part is very important. And so these people, they need to know how to use technology right now. So having a good team together, it's be easy for the transaction for the clients. So it's very, very important. So that's why I like you guys. We have done some deals in the past, so I'm happy that to introduce you to everybody out there and watch this video. So, and the next question can be what the clients can be in terms of clause need to know. Maybe they don't need to know, of course, the real estate need to know, the attorney need to know, but in terms of the clause, let's explain to the clients in some simple words how they can feel comfortable that we're going to use that in a contract. And for clause, I'm talking about the COVID-19 clause, yeah, specifically.
Right. So maybe I'll start this one off, and Brandon, jump in anytime. I would say at the very beginning, at the end of March, early April, there were a number of COVID clauses that were sent out to realtors that were suggested to be used in the agreements of purchase and sale. I would say a lot of those are not necessary right now and actually would cause more complication than anything else. There was one clause, for instance, where it said that if the land registry office or if the bank shut down, that both the purchaser and seller agree to register and extend the deal to the next, I believe it was like either the next business day or up to 3 business days after the banks or the land registry office opens. I do not think that should be included at all because there have been a number of press releases from both the banks and the land registry office that they are not closing down. So to add that actually just causes complication. Some of the clauses, though, some of the clauses which I'm saying are not vague at all about like if then statements are the vague ones, but the ones that say we will provide the keys via the lockbox at the property, absolutely include that. That really makes it easy for the lawyers involved. That also allows for the physical distancing to happen, because then on closing, we're not having to deliver keys to clients personally. We just give them the lockbox code and they're free to go to the property whenever they have a chance. And then the one other one, kind of in the same vein, is that the closing funds on closing can be provided by wire transfer. So that's just more of a convenience situation. But any of the ones, like I said, that have those like if this happens, then this happens, that are COVID related, I would actually say to leave those out.
Right, because right now we are what, 2 months and in 2 weeks. I would say after the COVID-19 start here in Canada. Yeah, March, second week of March. Yeah, so now we are in the end of almost the end of May. Yeah, so things start to be changed, and that's good for the customer. Of course, at the beginning was some kind of confusion to maybe for the first month, but then as we move forward, we become more flexible, even as a real estate, to understand how to do some video call and stuff like that go with the clients. So I had some little bit of challenging, but as much we are flexible and we trust, we understand how to move forward. Also, I would say that probably some clients will say, well, we get this clause, but what happens if the owner unfortunately gets sick and the worst scenario is going to die, or I am going to die? What's going on? What happened with the bank and the firm, my son? So what the option we have just in case as a plan B?
Okay, so that's okay. So there are two sort of options here. So before we get to the mortality question, let's talk about someone being very sick and perhaps being incapacitated.
Yeah.
If that were the case, the first question that Diane and I would ask is there a valid power of attorney for that person's spouse or someone else? If there's a valid power of attorney in place and they are in some way incapacitated where they can't actually sign documents, the power of attorney, or POA, would allow the transaction to move forward. If the person has passed away between putting the listing up and the sale, or an agreement being signed and the sale or purchase, that gets a bit more complicated, because it would then be, depending on the circumstance, if it's just one person that owns the property and they died, well, then that's now an estate matter. If it's a married couple that owns the property and one of them dies, well, you have one person that can sign, but then the other person has now passed away. So again, that's going to have to deal with a court order. So that ends up being a more complicated affair. An extension would probably be needed in order to go through the requisite legal steps. Does that sound about right, Diane?
Right. And what I'll add to that is that none of that is COVID specific. These are things that lawyers' offices deal with on a regular basis. Unfortunately, things happen between the time that the agreement of purchase and sale is signed and the closing. Sorry, there's got some friends in the background flying around. So what I'll say is, just to add on to what Brandon says, is in situations where it's a husband and wife on title, chances are they're on title as joint tenants. So the title will just automatically transfer to the surviving spouse, and the deal can close as scheduled and an extension won't be required. In a situation where somebody is the only person on title and they pass away, the first question is, did they pass away with a will? There are a number of questions that we would ask and follow up, but it doesn't make the deal impossible. Both our office and the office of the lawyer of the other side, we would be talking about it, explaining the situation and trying to work it out, because everybody wants the deal to close. And the one thing that I will add is that in the agreement of purchase and sale, whoever the seller or the buyer is, it says their name, and it also says their assigns, their heirs, and their beneficiaries. So even if somebody passes away, their estate must follow the contract, and they're bound to the contract.
Yeah, this is, I like your initial topic, because people that, during this pandemic, right, people that get scared, they get afraid, they start to use words they never used before. But as you just say, COVID-19, it can be referred to something else that we usually do every day. So it's so typically it's a normal stuff, quote unquote, right? Just let you use COVID-19, right? So moving forward, so if a client starts to say, okay, what is my time frame now? What's the delay that right now we be encountered during these COVID-19, for example?
So now that everybody has kind of gotten used to COVID and having to wear personal protective equipment and all of that stuff, we're actually not finding any delays. The delays in deals that I was finding on some of our deals were happening at the end of March, early April, where everything was so new and everybody was trying to figure out the process. But now I'm not finding any delays. Brandon?
Yeah, I mean, there were initial delays that were a natural result of anxiety, fear of the unknown, but people seem to have gotten used to the new reality we're in, and there hasn't really been delays. If anything, as I mentioned before, certain closes have been pushed up. Yeah, things are still moving along. Life continues.
Let's continue. Yeah. So refinance or transfer and agreement delay. So that would be the same topic, right? So as we talked about the beginning of the video, you guys. So what do you think the customer should think about from now in 4 to 5 months frame regarding the COVID-19 to move forward to resell, refinance or transfer? So for example, the government will give 2-3 months benefit to not pay for forbearance, for example, right? That's a big word that right now is out there. So what you suggest that clients should do and not do, for example, in terms
This
of
is a
refinance or forbearance?
if you don't, I'll just jump in. This is this is more of a market and business question. So what I can say is interest rates are incredibly low right now. So we've had several clients wanting to refinance because they can benefit from the lower rates. Another thing to consider is that right now there's not a lot of supply on the market. That's something we've been hearing from a lot of our agent friends, such as yourself. So if someone was looking to sell a property, that's to their benefit right now. But again, it depends on the property, the location, all the things that you would need an expert real estate agent for.
Right. Yeah.
Do you have a particular example that, or like a scenario that you're thinking of, Danielle?
For example, forbearance, and now people say, okay, I'm not going to pay my loan for a couple months, right? For 2-3 months. So can I do that? Do I get an interest rate? What's the meaning to do the forbearance? So as from an attorney perspective, so do you think I should do or not? That's the question
So
we ask.
we certainly cannot give financial advice. So that would absolutely be a question for your mortgage specialist at whatever lender you're working with, and also your accountant to see how that works out. Just on a very general basis, anybody who's thinking of doing a mortgage deferral, from what I'm understanding right now, there seem to be a number of milestones. So although you may be granted a, say, 3-month deferral, and maybe it may get extended for an additional 3 months for that total of 6 months mortgage deferral, at about the 2-month mark, some of the banks are asking for follow-up documentation to show that you still cannot in fact afford to pay the mortgage. So they're definitely, and it seems that every bank has their own qualifications, have their own milestones. So it doesn't seem to be super consistent. It really depends on what lender you're working with.
Right. And I do believe that clients, once they know all these pros and cons, they feel more comfortable and ready to move forward. As Brandon just mentioned, that the market is still there. We work almost every day, so there's no stop. Everything is working smoothly, better than before. Actually, I would say we look always positive things rather than thinking negative, right? So at the end of the day, guys, I would say that clients, they can do anything that we wanted. For anybody want to answer any question, have any question for you guys, of course, after you subscribe here, you can send an email or phone call for any question. We are here almost 24/7 for you guys. Any last word before we wrap up this meeting?
I'd say
no, oh, sorry, go ahead, Brandon. Yeah.
Still getting used to using digital technology.
Yeah.
I would say, in addition to what we discussed before about clauses for an APS, a good clause that your client should consider is the catch-all clause, which is subject to lawyer review. That allows us to take a look at the APS, the agreement of purchase sale, see if something needs to be tweaked, see that everything looks good, especially in these uncertain times. But beyond that, I'd say, you should find someone that you feel comfortable working with in order to make sure that the deal can get done. Diane?
I think you pretty much summed that up perfectly. And I just wanted to add a big thank you for allowing us to join you today.
Oh, thank you guys. We're looking forward for follow-up meeting. So you guys stay tuned. Thank you. Stay safe, stay healthy, and have an awesome day. Okay. Ciao,
Will
everybody.
do. Thank you.
We can just.
All right.
Yeah.
Nope.
I don't know where Brandon went. There he goes. There